We're live.
Okay. We'll bring this meeting to order of the Complaints Committee of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. Please call the roll.
This is the meeting of January 24th, 2017. On the call of the roll, Member Bartninsky has informed us that she's unable to attend, and she is marked as excused. Member Hinsey.
Yeah.
Present. I would also like to inform the public that Member Kanata has been appointed to the Complaint Committee for today's meeting to serve in place of Member Bartninsky. Member Kanata?
Present.
Kanata present. Chair Tesfa?
Present.
Tesfa present. We have a quorum. There are no agenda changes that I know of at this time. Next on the agenda, item number 2, approval of December 20th, 2016 Complaint Committee meeting minutes.
Do we have a motion?
Oh, sorry, Chair.
Motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Do we have any public comment on this item? Seeing none, can we take this without calling the roll?
The motion to adopt the minutes are approved without objection.
Thank you. Item 3, public comment.
Item number 3, public comment. Members of the public may address the committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction but not on today's agenda.
Seeing no public comment, move to item 4, please.
I would just like to note that item number 4 and 5 are related, but are separate issues. Just to keep in mind that the discussion may be similar. Item number 4, file number 16027, complaint filed by Charles Pitts against Kenneth Reggio and the Escapol Community Services, a nonprofit agency, for allegedly violating Administrative Code, Section 12L.5 and 67.25, by failing to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a timely and/or complete manner. Chair Tess, would you like me to provide a short summary of the matter?
Sure, and if you could maybe focus on the issue of jurisdiction, because that was one when I was reviewing this complaint. I was, had some concerns about. Thank you.
Yes, nonprofit agencies are usually not are not under the jurisdiction of Administrative Code 67. They're under the jurisdiction of Administrative Code 12L, which is related to nonprofit agencies. And the complaint may not, pursuant to 12L, I believe that the complainant should make their complaint to the department who is responsible for administrating the contract of the nonprofit agency prior to taking any action with the task force. However, in light of that, it is my understanding from the written material that the nonprofit agency did respond to Mr. Pitts' request for records. They did send it to him. However, that mail was returned as undeliverable. After that, they did send it by email and a PDF document.
Thank you.
Are you Mr. Reggio?
Yes.
I believe we have the representative from the Episcopal Center.
Okay, and do you think that before hearing the complaint, should we have a discussion on jurisdiction, a motion, or?
It is your discretion, but since Mr. Reggio is here, maybe we
Can hear from him?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much. Ken Reggio, I'm Director of Episcopal Community Services in San Francisco. We provide shelter for homeless people. And we have 11 supportive housing sites, and we operate the Navigation Center. And this was a complaint that came pursuant to our work in the Navigation Center. It was our possession, which Mr. Young,
Yes.
Correct, expressed correctly. Our response to the complaint initially was that we didn't believe that that 67.25 immediate disclosure request applied to us. What does apply to us is 12L, which we're quite familiar with as a nonprofit provider in the city, and I can tell you, comply with fully. Notwithstanding, our practice is when folks who are either residents or clients of our services request their document, we gladly give it to them, documents, meaning any incident reports that may apply to them, any case management reports, and we followed our usual protocol on that. We did not supply it by 5 o'clock the following day, would not have been able to do that, nor did we think the jurisdiction required that we did it. We also don't think that the public records disclosure of 12L requires that we do it, but we think best practice is that people have a right to know what is in our records in their regard. And we did supply that to the complainant, and the complainant subsequently did come and file with you for a violation of the Sunshine Ordinance, which our position is that both from a jurisdictional point of view and substantively, there was not a basis for the complaint.
Is the complainant present?
No, he is not.
Okay. Then, I mean, I'll ask these questions to you,
Yes.
and if you're able to answer them, please do, but, some of these might be better
Can I get
answered.
my...
Sure.
Thank you. Yes.
So do you know if the complainant brought his complaint also before the HSA?
The complainant did call HSA's attention to the complaint, was in touch with them in the matter, yes.
But he did not submit a records request to the HSA?
He did not, to my knowledge, submit a records request. He did submit records request to us, and we supplied it. I would say that maybe this is saying more than I need to, but the department would not have records beyond the records that we have on file for any client matters.
It's related to the next complaint. Mr. Pitts did file a complaint or a request with the HSA. They stated that they did not have any responsive documents, and they referred him to the nonprofit agency.
Okay, that's helpful.
Was the request HSA before or after the immediate disclosure request to your organization, sir?
I would have documents that would probably show that, but frankly, I don't know. It was very coincident with it, meaning like right about the same time.
They appear to be at the same date.
Okay, and do we know, I guess there's a question for you, and Vic, do we know the HSA's process for hearing? I'm sorry, he did not file a complaint with HSA, he just filed a
Request for records.
data request
Yes.
for records, okay.
Is the contract that ECS has with HSA valued over $250,000?
Yes.
Okay. And, according to the facts that you stated, the complainant has received his documents
That's correct.
electronically. When you sent them via mail, was that because he stated that he could not receive electronic documents? I'm guessing if you had an email address for him, but...
I did have an email address for him. He, actually, I have the dates on that if I find it. But he, approximately, I think, February 20, I should find those dates. He asked on a Wednesday in late February for the documents. I responded to him the following day that we would have it for him. He had wanted it at 5 o'clock the following day. I responded we could have it available for him the following Tuesday, which was 4 days later. He could either pick it up at our reception desk or I'd be happy to mail it to him. He sent back on Saturday
The P.O. box, right?
email asking that I mail it to him, which we did. Now, bad us on that. Our staff made an error in the address. He called me on March 16th to say he still hadn't received it. I asked him if he'd like me to PDF it to him, which he said he would, and I did that the same day or the following day. And what happened was we got the documents back ourselves, the ones we had mailed, kept them, they were postmarked, but they were mailed to a different post office box.
These are all of the factual questions that I have. I think that I would like to discuss with the other, Member Hinsey, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
No, okay. I would like to discuss among the committee members the issue of jurisdiction, so you can have a seat.
Thank you.
From my reading of the complaint, as well as the legal memo, and my look at the administrative code and the Sunshine Ordinance, it looks like the extent of our jurisdiction on this issue would be to issue an advisory opinion at the most, and that we do not have full jurisdiction over this agency. Do you guys have any thoughts on that issue, or believe differently, or?
No, that's, my feeling was that we don't have jurisdiction, basically because my reading of it suggests that the complaint has to go through the complaint process with the sponsoring department, so with HSA, and that didn't happen.
Right.
And he already has his information.
Okay. What kind of recommendation do you feel would be appropriate to the task force? Because right now it looks like it would be for us to, hear the complaint and only issue an advisory opinion. But I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on how you think that we should proceed. I don't think that the complainant not being present should necessarily say anything about, whether he feels that he would like to pursue this complaint, because it is optional to appear today. But given that he has received the documents according to the record that we have, Victor, did you hear anything from the complainant about appearing today?
I have not.
Okay.
So what is an what would an advisory
I believe the motion would be to refer the matter to the full task force with a recommendation to find that the task force does not have jurisdiction over the matter based on what I hear.
Right.
But
Okay.
we could, in theory, issue an advisory opinion still.
I think with the way that we have been structuring the complaint committee would be that we would still hear this before the full task force with, the information that we've learned today. But that decision that we do not have jurisdiction or that an advisory opinion ought to be issued or not would be something that the full task force would vote on.
Yes, they would determine the jurisdiction before we can get into the merits of the matter, and they would take the committee's recommendation regarding jurisdiction.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
I move to send this vote forward to the full task force with the recommendation that we do not have jurisdiction in this matter.
I second.
Public comment.
Do we have any public comment on this issue?
On this matter?
On this specific matter?
Hi, I'm referring to page 10 of your packet on this case, and that's like the face sheet. And there's very little information on it, particularly in the area for the complainant. And that is a problem. I know that you don't really have to supply too much information. An email is enough, but and I've said it before that I think that maybe you should look at that again, because it leaves everybody open to a lot of nonsense. I believe that Charles Pitts is homeless. I used to see him in the law library a lot and kind of remind him if he had a complaint pending or so, or to offer to help him if there were a problem. But, if you just look at page 10 and you what is this? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bowe. Is there any other public comment on this matter? With that, can we have a rebuttal from whoever is present?
There's no rebuttals.
Oh, no rebuttal. Okay. So can we call the roll on that motion?
On the motion on the motion, Member Kanata.
Aye.
Kanata, aye. Barnetsky, excused. Member Hinsey.
Aye.
Hinsey, aye. Chair Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. The motion passes. Just for the public to know, this matter will either be forwarded to the full task force for meeting on February the 1st or March the 1st. Notice will be provided to specify that date.
Thank you, Victor. Please call the next item.
Item number 5, file number 16028, complaint filed by Charles Pitts against Sam Dodge and the Human Services Agency for allegedly violating Administrative Code, Section 67.25 by failing to respond to immediate disclosure request in a timely and/or complete manner. It is my understanding that on February 24th, Mr. Pitts made a request to both Mr. Urigio and Mr. Dodge for files generated for specific public records. HSA responded on the next day, stating that he had no records responsive to the request and referred him to the Episcopal Center. After that, HSA alleges that Mr. Pitts asked the same question to various members of staff. That letter is in the packet today.
Are any of the parties present?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Do we have a motion on jurisdiction for this issue?
Sure. I'll move that we have to find jurisdiction.
Yeah, second.
Okay, great. Looking at the actual complaint, it looks like
On the motion for jurisdiction,
public comment on that. Anyone?
there being no public comment,
Yeah.
can we adopt that without objection?
Thank you. Do the committee members have any initial impressions on this IDR?
I mean, the information here, the HSA is
Can you
saying...
put the microphone down?
And, yeah, the HSA, I'm on page 43. And it's basically saying that Mr. Dodge never received Mr. Pitt's 226 IDR. So do we know, do we have any information? Do we have the IDR in the packet? Do we have enough information to send this up, or do we need to gather more information?
Member Hinsey, do you have any initial impressions?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
I guess I have a question, and maybe Mr. Reggio, since you're here, you can answer this, because you may know the players. In our packet, it says that Mr. Pitt sent a request to Mr. Rohr, Trent Rohr. Do you know, is he part of HSA? Is he part?
He's the director of HSA.
He's the director of HSA, okay.
I think it's on page 53. There's no IDR.
Yes, because we do see the email where he had emailed Mr. Rohr asking for all of the documents that were in his file while staying at the Navigation Center, and then it was basically the response to that email was just asking for more information, and that came, shortly after on the same day, and then he was directed to the Episcopal Community Services on February 25th. So, things occurred in a timely fashion. It appears that HSA, the reason they referred him to Episcopal Community Services is because they were the holders of any type of documents about his case. So I have a hard time seeing if there was an IDR, a violation of the IDR portion of the statute, if they didn't actually hold any of the records that he was looking for. Is there any more discussion? But I do, and Member Kanata, if you disagree, that's fine, and we can figure something out. But I do think that we have all of the documentation present in the packet in order to make a recommendation on this item. Talking through it out loud, it looks like the agency did respond in the statutorily required period that they did not have the documents, and forwarded the inquiry on, and forwarded him the information to bring his inquiry, which he did that same day, to ECS. Victor, is there anything in the packet that you think that we've missed?
Nothing that I know of.
Okay. Do we have a motion at this time?
So we would,
The motion would be something like to make a recommendation to the full task force that no violation was present.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Do we have any public comment on the motion? No? Okay, seeing none, can you call the roll?
On that motion to to refer the matter to the full task force with the recommendation to find that no violation occurred, Member Kanata.
Aye.
Kanata, aye. Barnetsky, excused. Member Hinsey.
Aye.
Hinsey, aye. Chair Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. The motion passes.
Will you include, can you include the portion of the statute, I think it's 67.25, in the recommendation, just so that when the full task force sees this, they'll, know which portion of the ordinance we're discussing?
Yes, that there was no violation of section 67.25.
Correct, thank you.
Next on the agenda, item number 6. File number 16113, complaint filed by Larry Chan against Lieutenant Catherine Whalen and the San Francisco Police Department for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 67.21 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and/or complete manner. I was wondering if the parties are present regarding this? I don't believe they are. Just to summarize,
Thank you.
on November 18, 2016, Mr. Chan requested all email correspondence from Sergeant Lynn Riley for the date of December 21st, 2016. On December 9th, the police department responded with a redacted page. However, I believe that the complainant is mainly concerned with the redaction that were provided to him regarding a single email, and that many of the pages were completely blacked out. And he is also questioning whether or not they were allowed to redact certain pages. And I believe the police department has provided their response in the packet, that it was redacted due to Government Code Section 6254 because the disclosure would endanger the safety of a witness or other persons involved in the investigation, or unless disclosure would endanger the successful completion of the investigation.
Are any of the parties present? No?
I don't believe so. I did ask.
Yes, oh yeah, okay. Do we have a motion to find jurisdiction?
Yes, move to find jurisdiction.
Second.
Do we have any public comment on the motion? Seeing none, maybe we can take that without calling
The
the roll.
motion is passed without objection.
Thank you. So when I was looking, are there any initial impressions from the other committee members?
No.
No? Okay. When I was looking through this complaint, I was really having a hard time figuring out if the investigation at issue is still ongoing. Was there anything?
Just hearsay on my part.
Oh, okay.
I believe that investigation is ended based on my reading of some of the documents.
Okay. Because that was my concern, if they're
If
using.
it is an ongoing investigation, then.
Right.
Yeah.
There could have been a good reason for the redaction. Pardon?
A legal reason and a protection reason.
Right.
Yeah. I think, from my perspective, we need to ask the police. We should ask the police department whether this is a
Okay.
ongoing investigation.
So that would be one of the questions.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that this is an interesting case from my reading, and I think that, my initial thoughts after reading this case, and we can discuss this, was that I don't know if this is ready to go before the full task force, because there are definitely certain facts that I believe need to be cleared up before we ask the full task force to spend time on this issue. So the first one will be, is the internal investigation ongoing? It looks like at this point we have some hearsay that the investigation has closed, but that's something that I would like to hear from the
Is it ongoing
respondent.
now, or was it ongoing when the request was made?
Right. So both. So
Both.
is the investigation ongoing?
If you take a look at page 62, this is an email from the complainant. And in that, he states, the case was investigated and closed. But that is the statement of the complainant.
Right, that's not been verified by the SFPD.
Right, it hasn't been verified by the SFPD, and that is part of what they're asserting with providing such heavily redacted documentation. So it would be nice to have that information on the record. Maybe we can all take a closer look at the timing issue, because this complaint was brought under, I believe, 67.21 as well. Or, sorry, not 67.21, 67.26 and 27. Oh, sorry, 67.21 for timeliness, yeah.
So I'm looking at page 61, 62, Victor, where in your notes it says it's the original complaint. But that's to us, and so
Give me a moment.
December 9?
One moment, please. I believe you take look at the city attorney's summary of the matter on page 69. I believe their requests for records was made on November 18th. Oh, actually, on November 18th, the SFPD invoked a 14-day extension. And they made their response on December the 9th.
Right, but when was the original request? Did I write it? Let's see. I've got the timeline, there's the timeline on page 6.
Pursuant to the police department's response, they received Mr. Chan's request on November the 18th.
And on the 18th, and was that request an ideal?
Which page did you say you were on? 68?
64 has somewhat of a time.
I don't believe it is an IDR because the code section the complaint is filed under is 67.21.
Right, okay.
Okay.
So if they got it on the 18th and then went to the December 9th, that's more than 14 days, correct? And is it business days or is it just calendar days?
Calendar days.
Right.
And then it also states on November 18th, they
14-day
notified Mr.
extension.
Chan that they were invoking a 14-day extension.
So if they invoked the extension on the 18th and they produced it on the 9th,
But still more than.
that's more than 14 days.
Victor, are you able to advise at all on The 14-day extension would be from 11/18, correct? It wouldn't be from another date.
I'm not familiar with that code section on the extension, so let me look it up.
Okay, thank you.
But if they requested the extension on the 18th, I wouldn't think it could be on a future date, you know?
Well, I
Or
was.
in a day from the past.
Well, I mean, my thinking was if the request came in on a certain day, and then after looking at the request for a few days, they're saying we're actually going to need an additional 14 days from our statutorily required time period. That's my only question.
Oh, they're referencing the California Government Code
Right.
and not the Sunshine Ordinance of California Government Code 6253C.
Okay.
There's a slight difference between the Sunshine Ordinance and the California Government Code. I don't have the good government guide before me, but give me a moment.
Thank you.
It states that no notice shall specify a date that would result in an extension of more than 14 days.
Okay. That's helpful. I think that in addition to asking the investigative affairs unit of the police department if this investigation is actually ongoing, I do think that it would be good in their response to this complaint for them to more clearly state when their response was, or their when they initially provided the explanation for withholding of the responsive records. Because I just think that's a little bit unclear.
And I'm looking at 6725B, and it says if the voluminous nature of the information requested, its location in a remote storage facility, or the need to consult with another interested department warrants an extension of 10 days as provided by Government Code 6456.1. The requester shall be notified as required by the close of business on the following day of the request.
Okay.
So this is saying a 10-day extension.
So they need to clarify when they initially provided the explanation for withholding the responsive records.
Just to go through this quickly, I believe that on November the 18th, the request was made by the complainant.
And November 18th is when they,
When the request was made by the complainant.
okay, and then they asked for the extension
And on November
Immediately.
18th,
immediately.
it states on November 18th, we notified Mr. Chan that we would be invoking the 14-day extension.
Okay, but there is no 14-day extension, it's 10 days.
And even if it was a 14-day extension, he didn't get it within 14 days anyway.
Okay. So it seems like we have enough information on that topic. So I think that I mean, kind of where I am right now, we can kind of talk through this and see if the other members agree, is that we would like the police department, internal affairs, to provide us with some information about if this investigation is ongoing so that we can have that on the record, as well as, what was the status of the investigation ongoing or completed at the time of the request. Because in order for them to be able to state that portions of these records were exempt pursuant to 6254. We just need to have that on the record.
Mm-hmm. And there's also the other half of that where even if the investigation is closed, if it would endanger the safety of a
Witnesses.
witness, they could still invoke that.
Right, because it seems like that's the reason why they invoked it was one of those, but it's a little bit too vague for them to just state it that way. And
Okay. Which portion? To clarify that question of whether or not the case is closed and whether or not this is being redacted to
protect a witness.
protect a witness.
Correct.
And do you have any comments regarding the extreme redaction?
Well, I mean, that would go towards the protection of the witness. They need to specifically state, why these redacted portions meet those exceptions. Like, this is information, like this entire information had to be redacted because it included the witness's name or schedule or
But
address, something like that. Because it's a pretty extensive redaction.
I think that I would like some explanation. I understand protecting witnesses, but five solid pages of redaction.
Which makes me suspect that the redaction has to do with, that the exception would be tied to ongoing investigation or something like that, if it's that extensive. So, Victor, is that something that we can put to these parties? I don't feel comfortable sending this up to the task force in its
we
current
can
state.
continue this matter to the next meeting and ask those questions.
Okay, thank you. And they can, of course, send that information in writing if they cannot be present.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe the motion would most likely be to continue the matter to the call of the chair and to send the questions regarding the nature of the redactions and whether or not the case is closed or not to both the complainant and the respondent.
Great. Do we have any public comment? Oh, do you have anything else to add, Member Canella?
And can we put in the motion to ask the SFPD to provide that information at least 5 days before the next?
That's our standard.
That's a standard. Okay.
Yes. And would somebody like to make that motion?
I so moved.
Member Hinsey?
Second.
Do we have any public comment on that motion? Seeing none. If we can take that without calling the roll, that'd be great.
The motion is adopted without objection.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is item number 7, file number 16119, complaint filed by Ellen Sang against Director John Rayam and the Planning Department for allegedly violating Administrative Code sections 67.21, 67.24, 67.25, and 67.26 by failing to respond to immediate disclosure request in a timely and/or complete manner. I believe that on December 22nd, Ms. Sang provided a list of 9 requests to the Planning Department. On December the 27th, the Planning Department did issue a response. I believe you will. Sorry, I lost my.
Take your time.
I suggest that we go through each of these requests for documents individually and review the requests pursuant to how the Planning Department responded and just work through them one at a time and see where we go with those.
Okay.
You have an extra copy of that portion, Victor?
I believe Sorry, I didn't hear the entire question.
Do you have an extra copy of that portion of the?
Yes, they're in your packet. I will pull it out and provide a copy to you. This is in the packet that is available. I believe it's on page 167 are the questions, and page 168 is the planning department's response.
And before moving on, or as you look for the packet, I know that Ms. Singh has had previous complaints before us because of the planning department. Is this one tied to any of the prior complaints?
I would leave it to...
I'll ask Ms. Singh when she's ready.
That's what building department. The previous one I filed is for
Oh,
building.
okay.
That's the planning.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
And I would also like to get
A
the
hard copy.
timeline down, because I'm reading this and there's, yeah. Good. So,
Ms. Singh, as you go through your case, if you could maybe go through, since it's a couple of items that are missing and requests, if you could kind of go through each of them individually. Is that possible? Just so that we're clear on, which item is which.
I have to say they did not produce any document. They have an email, but the email they stated it doesn't have any document to support it. In fact, they mentioned a permit number, which has nothing to do with the DR. Would you mind I say something about my case?
Victor, should we begin?
You can allow her to make the statement, or do you want to go directly into the items?
I almost feel like we should review the items first.
Okay, so let's we're going to review the items first, and then we will proceed to your statement.
Oh,
Thank you.
so do I?
You can have a seat if you. Yes, thank you.
Regarding Ms. Hang's first request, submitted on December the 21st, 2016. Please provide the public records as follows. Ms. Sang's filed DR on previous permit that was canceled. The planning department's response was, it is unclear what record you are requesting. The DR record that appears on file is 2006.0396D. PD files of the docket should have already been emailed to you. If you're requesting something else, please let us know. A copy of that 2006.396 is in our packet on page 152.
Should we maybe review each item and then ask Mrs. Zhang?
That's what we're going to do. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll review each item. So you said 152. Okay.
so I'm looking at 152. This is a document from 2006. When was it sent to Ms. Sang?
I would like to allow the planning department representative, if she wants to say something.
Hi, Christine Silva, planning staff. So the 2006 docket was provided to Ms. Singh under a separate request that we received, and we had emailed, page 152 is not the entire docket. We had broken up a PDF into 3 separate emails in which we emailed that to her.
Okay. So can we deal with the one request where on page 138 of this document has the, where is it here? Page 138 has the email from Ms. Sang to the planning department dated Wednesday, December 21st, 2016, requesting 9 pieces of information. And the respondent, please, when was that email responded to? Because according to the timeline I read, she didn't get anything back until the 27th.
Correct. So in our memo, page 166 of your packet, We do acknowledge that the department did not respond to the IDR by close of business the next business day. Instead, we were able to respond. That's the email from Mr. Andrew Perry that completed the request the following business day, which was Tuesday, December 27th.
Okay, so the IDR was sent in late, 8:44 p.m. on the 21st. So by 8:44 p.m. on the or close of business on the 23rd, she should have gotten a response.
Correct, and we acknowledge we did not either invoke the extension or say we had records and
But you
provide those
didn't
records.
communicate with her in the time frame necessary.
Correct. We were
Okay.
able to do that the Tuesday after, which was right around, the Christmas break.
Right.
Okay, so that's a 67.21.
Yeah.
That's for timeliness. Okay.
And then when planning responded, what was sent to Ms. Sang?
So that was the email from Andrew Perry. It's page 168 of your packet. When we reviewed the request, it seemed to us that she was requesting information as opposed to direct records. And so we compiled that information, answers to her questions, because she's asking largely for numbers or dates. And we were able to pull that information from either our database or the DBI database, or looking at some of the docket records from the case 2006, the 2006 discretionary review docket, 2006.0396D. Which are records she already has.
Okay, Ms. Sang?
I answering your question now, or?
I'm asking you a question. So planning just said that on the they invoked an extension on the 27th, and they sent you an email on the 28th with information.
With the email, yes.
And so was the information you received the information you asked for?
No, I did not. I asked for public record. They just give me this email without any document request. Without that, they basically make up whatever the planner thing is the best way to get rid of my request, and doesn't provide a single document. But when you say the permit, those things, they must have a record to say whatever he said in the email. But instead, provide the documents, he provide nothing. That's why I can write an email and then you have to have a document.
Okay, I see what you mean. So are you saying that Ms. Silva interpreted your request as, not a question, Ms. Silva interpreted your request as wanting certain information, and so rather than giving you the source document of the answer to that information, she just extracted the information for you and did not provide the source document?
Not only that, when they say that whatever it is, it's not the case at all. There's no support. He mentioned the 2000.
Right. So she told you the information, but she didn't provide you with the source document, the supporting document.
Yeah, no document. I request document because I needed to know where's my money paid, and the hearing was never held.
Okay, but we're trying to figure out. Okay. That's helpful.
Thank you.
Ms. Silva, can I ask you a question? So you were saying that you interpreted her request as wanting to know specific information rather than the document. Can you give me some more information on why you interpreted it that way? And when she asked for the document, why you didn't give her the actual source document rather than the information? It sounds like you were trying to help her, but she also wants the source documentation, which is understandable.
So it seemed
and within her right.
So it seemed to us in the 9 items she was listing. So, for example, let's go back to page. I'm looking at page 167 of her email. Number 2, the previous permit application number and the name of the permit applicant.
So there, you gave her the previous permit application number and the name, but you didn't give her the document that showed that was the source document for
So
that.
what we did there is we looked up on the DBI database, the number, and then the applicant, and then provided her that information.
Okay, so when she came back and said that she didn't actually get the document, did you provide that to her? A printout of whatever you found in the DBI database or a PDF of that?
No, we did not.
Okay, is that something that you can do?
We would actually just point them to the DBI database with the record number because it's all public access. It's all open to the public. So we look at the DBI database or the planning database. You type in the number, you type in the address, it's all there. So we would generally point the public to the databases to seek that information.
Did you direct Ms. Sang to the database?
No, we did not.
Okay.
But we felt that our responses were clear enough to provide what we thought she was seeking, which was building permit numbers and dates and applicant names and such.
That's fine that you thought that. We can decide. Ms. Sang, can you approach the microphone? Okay, so I see that with 1 through 9, there are several items that you're looking for. So for example, in number 2, where it says this previous permit application number and the name of the permit applicant, you wanted the actual application that showed the number. Is that what you were looking for? And were you looking for okay, so if you'd be wanting the actual application, because then you'd be able to see the number and you would be able to see the permit applicant name,
Right.
correct?
Yeah, those, let me say, those 9 items, 9 specific documents are quoted from the memorandum. And because I was so confusing the memorandum, what they are referring to. So they must have a record in order for them to issue the memorandum. That's why I'm asking for the public record to let me understand why do they issue the memorandum.
Okay.
And, I have to say, DBI's record is not necessarily the same as the planning. Planning have their own record before, when the record is in planning's possession, the planning have the record different than DBI.
Okay.
Because they don't involve a DR request.
Let me ask Ms. Silva, can you speak to that issue, the difference between the records of the planning department
Correct,
and those that are in the DBI database?
Yes, so each of our departments has jurisdiction, or we work on similar, sometimes the same project, but different aspects of a project. DBI is generally charged with reviewing and issuing building permits that allow a person to build. Planning is more, we oversee land use and entitlements, and so we have separate numbers and separate kind of tracking of those projects. So anything that's referenced in that has kind of a longer number string, 2005.09.274018. That's a DBI permit number.
Okay, so why didn't you, rather than looking through the DBI database, why didn't you look through your own records?
We did that as well to respond to some of these the 9 items.
Okay, and then you provided her with the documents that were in your records, or what did you provide her with?
She already has our documents. So in those instances, we referred her to the 2006.0396D.
I know, but even if she has the documents, she's allowed to request them from you. Or if she had them at some point, maybe she doesn't have them anymore. You need to give them to her. So
Right.
I was wondering, did you provide her with the documents?
Yes, we emailed them.
In response to this specific request, not in response to a past request?
We referenced that we've already provided to them because there are several instances where her requests come back to back. And so at this point, we felt that it was kind of, I don't know the exact date, but we had recently provided her the entire docket.
Okay. But you recently provided them to her in response to the specific request or an earlier request?
An earlier request.
Okay, that's helpful. Members, do you have any more questions for the complainant?
Not at this time.
Okay. Do you want to take a moment to discuss?
Yeah, please.
Okay. What are your initial impressions? And then I can give you mine.
Why don't you go first?
Member Canada?
I definitely think there's a violation
Yeah.
in the response being extremely late.
Right.
So that would be 60, immediacy would be 6725. And I also, I think that this request specifically stated that they would like the information in electronic format as in an email. And the respondent didn't do that. The respondent sent them information as to where to go to other places to get this information. And the person requesting the information can request it in any way they want. I mean, the person may have email, but the person may not be savvy on logging on to databases and extracting information. Mm-hmm. And I also don't think that stating that we've provided this same information previously should be a response. I mean, I think if an individual has the right to ask for information in a request, and that information should be provided.
So some of my initial impressions, very similar to Member Kanata. I think that in some of these cases, there may have been a good faith attempt by the planning department to get the specific information from Ms. Sang. For example, providing her with the actual the application number rather than giving her the source document, the actual application that would show the number. And I think that in compliance with the Sunshine Ordinance, to be as helpful as possible for the requester, if Ms. Sang responded that I need this actual document, that's what needs to be provided. In addition to that, I don't like the DBI and Planning Department, two different agencies. Ms. Silva was able to explain to us that they each have their own record keeping, and so in that case, I don't like Ms. Sang being sent to the databases of other departments if the respondent agency or department actually holds records. If it were the case that the planning department didn't, they should be, of course, retaining records, but if it turned out kind of like in the earlier case with HSA and the Episcopal Services, HSA doesn't actually hold the documentation, the contracting agent does, that's a different case. But in the case of requesting documents from the planning department, pointing a requester to the database of Department of Building Inspections is not adequate under the obligations of the Sunshine Ordinance. So I guess in summary, my impression is that I think we do have the information that we need in this packet already, but I think that we need to probably forward this to the full task force with the violations of 67.21, 24, 25, and 26. And then, depending on where we go there, I would like to probably send this over to compliance and amendments to make sure that there's some follow-up, to make sure that Ms. Sang gets the actual documents, source documents for her request. Victor, do you have anything that you could add at this point?
I don't know if you want to keep it here until we, we need to give the department specific instructions in regarding to providing those source documents.
Okay.
Maybe we can go through the items.
Let's do that. That sounds good. Okay, so the first item was that Ms. Sang had filed a request on a previous permit that was canceled. Ms. Sang, do you mind can you approach the microphone? Okay, so for the first item, the document request for the previous permit that was canceled. Are you looking for a document that is a copy of the permit with a stamp that says canceled on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Great.
Somehow have the communication, either have it by note, by email, somebody cancel, have to have some kind of communication.
Okay.
Well,
That's good.
thank you.
That sounds good.
Thank you. I appreciate that you understand what I'm requesting.
So for item number 2, it says the previous permit application.
Can we allow the planning department to see if that's possible?
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Ms. Silva, can you please approach?
So it sounded like she wanted a copy of the canceled permit.
Yes.
In that case, would it be correct to refer her to DBI because they maintain the copy of those permits?
You should probably state that you don't have any records responsive
Oh, so no
to that.
record, no responsive record, and then providing
And state that the DBI has that record. I'm just throwing it out there.
Member Kanata, Member Hinsey, what do you think? If they don't actually have a responsive document, then that's,
And it's possible if it is on their website and it's not too extensive, if you could print DBI's webpage or something.
that
if you
shows
can-
it was canceled?
Yes, if you can provide information from DBI just to shortcut the process.
Okay.
Ms. Sang?
When the project is under DR, so-called discretion review, that's a planning issue. It's not building department. They cancel the in planning before they tell building. It's not building take action for cancellation. They took that.
So it sounds like in this case, you're not
Yeah.
looking for the canceled permit, but you're looking for some type of communication,
yeah,
maybe
this-
an email or
yeah.
something saying
Yeah.
that this
So I understand, you're looking for a document where the planning department, what's the word I'm looking for? Did not uphold the discretionary review.
They deny how that they said now they told me that's the reason is that the applicant canceled. So who is the applicant? And those documents they send me the memorandum with things that are so confusing, and that's why I want to shout out because where's my money now?
Okay, Ms. Silva, so do you have maybe you can send a communication that said this is canceled, and then maybe that communication was between the planning department and DBI?
Actually, between the applicant or with the planner assigned to the project before they do anything else to building department. The building department actually have nothing to do with all the DR, every file in the planning. They don't have those files at all.
Okay.
I
makes sense.
Okay.
So Ms. Silva, do you have
Just to clarify, a copy of a communication that this permit, previous permit, item number 1, was canceled.
Yes.
And if we don't have that, we would say we have no
That the
response.
discretionary review was not upheld, or they didn't follow through on the discretionary review?
Okay. We'll search for that.
Thank you.
I think we can move on to the next one.
The next one is that the previous permit application number and the name of the permit applicant. So in that case, we would want the source documentation that shows the application number as well as the name of the permit applicant on that application.
Yeah. The building department transfer all the permit application to planning when the planning have a jurisdiction to review the project before do anything. They don't do it. So the planning have their own copy. Everything actually should be. And regarding the DR, regarding anything about that permit actually.
Ms. Silva, can you speak to that issue?
So, thank you. So the previous permit application number is noted on the memo that, the December 2006 memo, which I believe is page 152. So would that be considered a source document?
And
That we can
does it
point
also
to.
have the name of the permit applicant?
Let me check. I would need to look at the entire document. It appears that it's only the first page of that.
Do you have a copy of the actual application that shows the
No.
number and the applicant?
That would
name?
be with DBI. They maintain the copies of all permits.
Okay.
That's
so,
not a
so if you
planning
could provide
document.
the record that you do have, so the full version of that one, you said we only have the first page.
When the building send the file to planning. They don't keep a file. When the planning canceled it, they send back the original application. But planning, because the DR, so they do have a copy of the application, a permit application, and then they should have the communication from the applicant request for cancellation or the planning, what day they received the request by phone call, by email, by what. Those are planning's record. They cannot send it to now saying that DBI have the record. Now, DBI have the records completely different than what the planning has. They have no jurisdiction about planning DR issue at all.
Do you have a response to that, Ms. Silva?
No, sorry.
I can't say for certain that we would maintain the copies of records as she has stated. Generally, once we review a project, a permit, we will send all that documentation back to DBI.
Okay, so
Is it, and how about all information about a discretionary review?
Sorry.
Who keeps that?
So the discretionary review docket is a planning docket record.
Okay.
We maintain all of those records.
So, Ms. Sang, just so I'm clear here, because I know we went through this
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago with DBI.
Yeah.
Are you looking for all the information stipulated in these 9 items about the DR that planning has? It's a yes or no right now.
Yes, the planning DR records should have the
Okay.
copy of application actually, then have a
Okay.
cancellation.
So can we, complainant, respondent, us, can we sort of agree that we don't care about DBI right now?
Yes.
Right? DBI shouldn't even be in here, right? I
Yes.
think what's being asked for, Ms. Silva, is everything about this discretionary review that planning has.
and if you don't have the source document, for example, you're saying that it was sent back to DBI, then just say we hold no records that are responsive to this request. That's the proper. And I understand that going to the DBI database could give you some information, but if you're not the holder of the record, Ms. Sang needs to have that written in a written response saying you don't have that. Do the other members feel that it's necessary to go through each item?
You do? Okay.
No,
Then-
no, she said she does not.
Oh, I don't. I mean, what
The
I
only
think.
problem, sorry to jump in, but I'm jumping forward a little bit. I assume you're going to ask that they provide all the records related to this DR.
Yes.
However, I foresee an issue based on past experience in that they're going to want each page point out in response to each of these questions. Where can I find this document in this,
Right.
all these documents, and so
Okay,
forth.
so is that possible, Ms. Silva? You get all the information for this DR and indicate in the response where each of these 9 items in that DR is?
Yes. That's something we can instruct staff to do.
Okay, so,
And if they do not have a response for one of these questions, they can state they have no response to
Right.
documents.
Yes.
but I don't, and I think that response would be for the next CAC meeting but I still think this item goes to I would like this item to go to the full
Right, 'cause
task force with violation.
Right,
Recommend
I think
to
all of
recommend the violations.
Yes, but I want Ms. Sang to also get some kind of documentation
Right.
soon. So
9 documents, specific document, is from their memos. I'm so confused, the memo. That's why I actually copied the word by word the request from their own memo, the planning memo, nothing to do with DBI. Thank
Right.
you. I appreciate your time. I need understand what I really
I think I
looking
understand what you're saying because there was a memo with this information, but then as Ms. Silva has explained, once that memo was created and they did not take the discretionary review, the documents were sent back to DBI.
They don't send back the planning file to DBI. They just send back the application, that's all. But they still keep the application for the DR file.
I mean, that.
the permit application copy, but the original sent back to DBI, as far as I was informed by the planning.
Well, it sounds like from what Ms. Silva, who is the respondent responsible, that's not the process that's used. So, but what we need to have from the planning department is on record written that they don't hold the responsive documents. When we go through the full hearing at the task force, as Member Kanata was saying, we could have a compliance amendments or some type of follow-up to make sure that that planning department keeps certain types of records if necessary. Should we go through the rest?
I
have a quick question. So in the packet, you had noted violations for 0.21, 0.25, 0.26, 0.27. I believe that's what's noted. And
124, 25, and 26, I think. No?
Okay. So to 2.21 and 26, we understand we were in violation of
Yes.
the timeliness, 0.25. But the other two, withholding of records and then the time frame for regular public records requests, since this is immediate disclosure request, would we only be responsible for the 0.25 or all of that?
I believe
We didn't withhold any information,
I
or we
think-
didn't.
Well, so you did withhold information because we did not have on record that you stated for Ms. Sang that you do not hold records that were responsive to this request. So that is information that was withheld from Ms. Sang that she should have received in response to her request if you did not have those documents.
And then going
your
back to
discretion-
0.21 versus 0.25, would we be in violation of both of those, or only the 0.25 because it was an IDR versus a regular 10-day request?
6121 and 25 are interrelated. However, regarding 24 and 26, that's at your discretion if you
But-
want to go to that extent, and if you want to go into that kind of detail.
Right. So shall we go through the rest of the, it sounds like we've covered
I
it.
don't
Yeah, I
think
don't
we
think we
need
need
to,
to.
Okay.
but I just want to be clear and make sure that everyone's in agreement on that. I believe that the planning department is going to provide all documents related to the DR record. And they will attempt to relate all of the 9 questions to specific pages of that DR record, or state that those records do not exist. I was wondering if this is agreeable to both parties at this time.
Document in references to my 9 specific requests, and I don't understand. I don't know what they say that they provide everything to me already. If that's the case, I think I just don't understand or don't know where do I find them. They could have provided document. This is very simple 9 documents. It's not 1,000 pages, an email, they send it to me.
Thank you, Ms. Sang. So from my understanding, it's, they have some of this information because there was this memorandum that was produced, and so Ms. Silva was able to pick and choose some of the information from the memorandum, but Ms. Silva also stated that the actual records were returned to DBI. And so once we get that in writing, Ms. Sang is alleging that that's not true, that they do have them, but that's not something that the 3 of us can say, create the documents, get them from DBI again. But at this time, these are not documents that are retained by the public, by the planning department. Though through compliance amendments, maybe we can, try and have that changed for the future.
Yes, right. I mean, I think the understanding should be that planning will provide Ms. Sang with everything they have about this DR.
Yes.
Right, and highlight where in that information her 9 points are.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys can be seated. Do we have a motion at this time?
Sure. I'll move to move this up to the task force with finding of jurisdiction and recommended violations of 67.25 for timeliness and did we decide to?
We had 67.21, 0.24, 0.25, 66.26.
I definitely agree with 21 and 25.
2-1, 2-5.
2-4 seems to
Yeah.
have specific types of, it does have memoranda, but this is, I'm not sure about 2-4.
Okay.
Let me look at 2-6 closer.
I'm trying to decide whether she wished to rise to the level of withholding information.
Okay.
I would be comfortable with 6721 and 6725.
Okay,
And
so-
then we follow up with compliance and amendments to make sure that the DR information
Okay.
Okay,
actually gets to
yeah.
Ms.
That's motion to find a violation, 6721 and 67.25 for failing to provide a response in a timely and complete manner.
Okay. And you seconded that, Member Kanata?
Second.
Do we have any public comment on that motion? Seeing none, call the roll.
On that motion, Member Kanata.
Aye.
Kanata, aye. Member Hinsey.
Aye.
Hinsey, aye. Chair Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. The motion passes. This matter will be referred to the full task force for hearing, I believe, will be on March 1st, 2016. Notice will be provided to all parties. It would be helpful if those documents could be provided prior to that meeting. And I'm trying to think of something. And in addition to that, I believe the committee is recommending that this, if the documents aren't provided at that time, that it be referred to the Compliance and Amendments Committee.
Correct. Great, thank you. Can we take a 5-minute break?
Yes.
All right.
I am.
Victor, can you call the next item, please?
Next on the agenda is item number 8, file number 16084, complaint filed by Ann Chabot against Mayor Edwin Lee and the Office of the Mayor for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 67.25 by failing to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a timely and or complete manner. It appears that on August 19th, the complainant requested all documents regarding Barbara Sklar's appointment and reappointment to any positions within the city from 1995 to present. On August, I believe, 24th, the mayor's office provided a response. They again provided the response on September 2nd, 2016. They resent the response. And on September 8th, the complainant stated that she did not receive the response. Both parties are here for this item. I don't know if you would like to go into questions or let them provide a statement.
I'm sure the complainant will have 2 minutes to make a statement, then we'll follow up with more questions.
Statement. This is violation of 6725A, I believe, and Government Code Section 6253 and 62531. Of the 28 documents that were provided to me, only one was relevant to the IDR. I asked for a specific time frame, 2005 to the present, and I only got one document. When I responded, do you have any more? I didn't get a response. So it became doubly confusing to me because there was no phone number ever listed. So I never knew who I was talking to. And then when I walked into the mayor's office, I was almost escorted out of there for simply asking for the custodian of records. So it was frustrating on my part. At the time of the filing of the request, there was no pending litigation, so there was no justification of withholding, and there was no withholding kept to a minimum. So since they never gave an inventory of the paperwork they had, it kind of opened a can of worms. If there were no documents, then there were no documents, but they didn't tell me that. So it kind of left me wondering, this Barbara Sklar claimed to have served under 5 mayors with no record of it. I had to scramble with the clerk's office, Legislar, to see if there was anything there. I had to go to the county clerk's office downstairs to see if there was anything on file. So certainly there was no assistance provided to me from anyone in the mayor's office. And I feel that I went out of my way to get that information.
I believe Victor Lim is here from the mayor's office.
Mr. Lim?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Victor Lim. I'm the Deputy Communications Director with the Mayor's Office and also tasked as the new custodian of records. We understand that this was brought to us, and we're here today to respond. In regards to Ms. Tripple's request, our office at the time with my predecessor, Kirsten McCulley, she had provided all responsive documents. We understand that at the time there was some staffing changes, and we apologize that if it was not provided in a timely manner. We've now taken steps and measures with an all-new staff to make sure that it's not just me, but we have 2 other point staff to make sure that the Sunshine mailbox is read, checked on a daily basis multiple times, and that we want to make sure that we respond to all IDRs and public records requests in a timely manner. And so we apologize. This was before my time. And so we want to make sure that the commission understands we've taken good faith moving forward to prevent any of this from happening again. And again, just looking at the records, we indeed provided everything that we had within the mayor's office for Ms. Tripple's request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions first for the complainant. Mr. Bo, can you approach the mic? Well, I guess first, do the committee members have any questions?
Not yet.
Okay, so I'll start us off. First, when I was initially looking over the agenda and your complaint, I saw that this was filed under section 67.25, but in your initial statement, it sounded like there were some other, I know you mentioned the government code, but for the Sunshine Ordinance, is this complaint specifically to 67.25 for, excuse me?
Timeliness?
Yes, for timeliness.
I think 6721C, failure to identify a public record, would comply because I asked for specific years. And they did, just by saying this is all we have, doesn't identify the records. If I'm asking for swearing in appointments or re-swearing in appointments, this is specific information. A person is sworn in every term, whether it be 4 years, whether they're a holdover, there would be a record of a swearing in. And I specifically needed that information because the California Court of Appeal asked in their supplemental briefing that specific question.
Okay. And Ms. Trudeau, do you know if the mayor's office has retained that record? Or in your response, did they say that we do not have that specific record? Or we have provided all of the records that are responsive to your request?
No, they didn't say anything. I sent out a couple emails saying, do you have any more documents? Are you going to send any more? I asked for these specific years. I didn't get a response, and then much later came, this is what we have.
Okay. Mr. Lim, could you approach the microphone, please?
Yes.
Thank you for telling us about the additional steps that have been taken in the mayor's office under your supervision to make sure that we don't have late responses. Ms. Trudeau has stated that it sounds like Barbara Scalar has claimed that she has served under 5 mayors, and Ms. Trudeau is trying to find out, when was that service. I know that you're serving under Mayor Lee, so I don't know, what you have for all of the past mayors. Do you have any further documentation, or did you respond to Ms. Trudeau to state, these are all of the responsive documents that we have?
So I joined the office in November, and I've been reviewing what we have on record.
Okay.
There were, at the time, Kirsten did respond. It may not have been clear that this was everything, but she did make a good faith effort and stated on the record that she's resending the documents. I think there may have been some miscommunication or misunderstanding. And also at the time, she was actually away, and we didn't have, because the office was transitioning,
Okay.
we had very little staff.
Okay.
So we are well aware of the absence and
Okay.
the need for someone to check the mailbox.
So, but having more staff wouldn't have allowed you to find more records, would it? I don't.
No,
I
so
think that's leading.
Yeah, so we've always had a process where we thoroughly check in with all current staff of
Okay.
the time for records.
Okay.
And I understand that Kirsten followed up with everybody, and I do so also.
Okay.
And there were no additional records.
Do the other members have any further questions?
Yeah, Mr. Barr, I have a question, because I'm on page 184 here. And this is the response to you, and the first part of it concerns appointments, reappointments, and swearing-ins from 2002 to 2016. But then I read further, and there's another request for all from 95 to present.
Do you want me to explain that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out exactly what this hearing, what pieces of information this hearing's about.
Okay, so I gave a timeline. There was a document request sent to Steve Kawa, and he certainly should have received it and forwarded it on August 17th. I actually sent one prior to that on August 15th, but I spelled the name of the person wrong, and I was calling to verify the spelling of the name, and I couldn't get through to anyone and got thrown out of that office. So there were two IDRs, the first one on the 17th and the second one on the 19th, because I didn't get any information for the one on the 17th. So the late IDR and the one I filed on was the one from the 19th, because I didn't receive a response until the 24th.
Okay. And in one more question, I'm going back to the timeline. I'm on page 180. And let's see. There's something here, 5 from the bottom. Is I respond, explaining, what's the explaining late response? And then in the 18th, it says, and invokes extension.
It was very confusing. And when you have no name attached to it, you just have a generic email and no phone number, it makes it even more confusing.
But the one that has again invokes extension.
What page is that?
This is page 180.
Okay.
On the fourth from the bottom in the timeline, August 18th at 3:53 p.m.
Yeah.
Is that the mayor's office invoking an extension? I'm just trying, because if we're talking about the IDR on the 17th and they responded on the 18th, that's one thing. If they didn't respond till the 24th, it's another.
I sent two IDRs, one on the 17th.
Right.
And
One on the 19th.
one on the 19th.
Right, but this is the 18th. This, and I don't. Again, I'm just on the timeline. I haven't found this document.
I haven't found it either, and that's what made it so very confusing, because I got 4 emails from, I assume it was Kirsten McCauley that one day, and I searched through to try and find them and keep track of them, but I couldn't find the extension. And even in the city attorney's memo, they referenced that there was no extension.
Okay.
I believe they have acknowledged that they were not timely.
Timely, right.
I think we probably should look into whether or not the documents provided were responsive or not.
Right.
Yeah, that was another one that was very frustrating for me. There were 28 documents that were supplied, and to me, the page 199 was relevant because I asked for an oath of office, but I had asked for 2002 to the present, so there was one that was relevant, but all the other years were not supplied, and they did.
Mr. Bowe, do you know if Ms. Sklar was in fact serving during those years? Because you said it was stated by her, you're trying to research it. I mean, doing the math, that's when it would have begun.
I spent a lot of time at this, mostly in the government section of the public library through the minutes, and she was serving. Having not been sworn in, she continues to serve to this day, having not been sworn in. She was sworn in, she was even president, and she still wasn't sworn in.
I mean, I'm not going to get into the merits of carryover and things like that, because that does exist. But we have, I think, we have information on her appointment and swearing in from 2009 and 2011.
Right.
We don't have anything from before that, but you're saying that you've looked at minutes and you've seen her information there.
Yeah.
Okay.
She did serve for a short period of time on the status of women. In 2009, concurrently, a commissioner cannot serve as a commissioner on 2 boards, but she was sworn in for that one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Canada, do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay, you can be seated. Maybe we can discuss this among ourselves. Right now what I'm seeing is, sure, there's the violation of, for the immediate disclosure of records, and that is something that, has basically been stipulated to by the mayor's office. If they do not have records of her serving prior to that date, I mean, it could be the case that proper records weren't being kept at that time. In which case, I would basically just like Mr. Lim to send her a note that states, we have no further records in response to your request, but that is something that Mr. Bowe is entitled to. And it sounds like steps have been taken in this office to make sure that IDRs are responded to in a timely fashion. And with Mr. Lim here, I think that, we can make the recommendation that if in fact their office does not continue, when they respond to a records request, they need to state these are all of the records that we have at this time, or that we have in our possession, rather. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Member Hinsey?
No. I think that stating of the fact that a department has no records, we should maybe consider that as being a citywide policy that maybe we issue something on.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you. We'll take that recommendation. Do we have a motion at this time?
I will motion to send this under the full task force with a violation of timeliness, which would
I think it's
25.
67.25 regarding timeliness.
25 regarding timeliness.
Yes. At this time, I would like to just give a minute to each of the parties to make sure that we've...
And I would also like to include in that motion the finding of jurisdiction.
Yes.
Yes.
Can we give a minute to each of the parties just to make sure that everyone understands, or do we need to take public... Okay.
Mr. Kanata, Member Kanata, would you like to second?
I did second. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I didn't.
Can we hear from the respondent, and then we'll allow the complainant to close? Mr. Lim?
So in regards to informing that there are no responsive records, so since I've been on board, if there are no responsive records, I always state it for the record. And I think it's a wonderful suggestion what you brought up. So thank you. And we have been doing that since I've been here in November.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Could you send one of those to
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Bo? Okay.
Yeah, very happy to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bo?
Just to clarify, I would like to just modify that the records have been provided and we have no additional records because they
Okay.
did provide 28
True.
documents.
Yes. So, did you hear that, Mr. Lin? That you would
That
say that.
you have provided 28 documents and there's no additional records besides those 28 documents.
I will make sure it will be on the record that we have provided 28 documents and we have no additional records.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bo, do you have a minute to close?
I kind of anticipated that type of response. It's City Hall rhetoric, moving forward. I'm new, I'm going to personally oversee. So I actually went back to 2005 in the orders of determination that issued on the Sunshine Task Force website, and there have been 15 against the mayor's office for 6725. So it's not an isolated incident. I guess we'll see, if things are going to change, but it's just too easy to say, moving forward, I'm going to personally oversee it. There's a gaping hole here. This woman served 5 terms. That equals 20 years. And to have only 2 years on file with the mayor's office and an invitation in 2006 to say, oh, it was an oversight that you were not sworn in. There's something wrong there.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
For Ms. Scalar's current status, is there, are the documents on file currently? Because I can understand from years past, maybe in 2002, they weren't keeping those types of documents. But I'm just curious to get a sense of if, that type of record keeping is taking place right now, in case we want to.
I don't believe so. I spent a lot of time at this because it was supplemental briefing for the Court of Appeal, and it's only been 90 days since the opinion issued. I haven't personally checked down there, but it's not only Barbara Scalar.
Okay, we can take that under advisement, and I'll, when this is eventually moved up to the task force for the 67.25 violation, we'll make sure that the rest of the task force is informed so that they can note that and see if any actions should be taken for record keeping. Thank you. Do we have any public comment on the motion? Seeing none, can we call the roll?
On the motion, to find a violation is 67.25 regarding timeliness. Member Kanata.
Aye.
Kanata, aye. Member Hensy.
Aye.
Hensy, aye. Chair Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Just before moving on, I'd like to go back to a previous item. I'd like to add the motion to find jurisdiction to that item. I believe we forgot to do that.
Which one?
That was on file 16119.
Did Member Hensy make that motion? Because I
Um,
believe that she did include to find jurisdiction
Okay,
right at the
thank you.
beginning of her
Sorry, thank
motion.
you for the clarification.
Okay,
I didn't
great.
write it down.
No worries.
Next on the agenda, file number 16083, complaint filed by Andrew Bowe against Pete Patterson and the Arts Commission for allegedly violating administrative code, section 67.25, by failing to respond to a media disclosure request in a complete manner. Regarding that matter, on August 31st, Mr. Bowe requested all documents, police reports, emails, photos regarding statements made by, I must misspell the matter, made by Patterson in a letter dated August 31st to the task force, which stated, I have a history of contacting commissioners via personal email, showing up at the residence and workplace unannounced. Trudeau alleges that the Arts Commission did not identify documents that were withheld and provide justification for withholding. The Arts Commission did provide a response on the same day, stating that they had no additional records to provide and the police reports were already provided.
They're already in my possession.
Were already. In addition, the Arts Commission stated that they withheld the record regarding harassment pursuant to California Evidence Code 1040 and 1041, supported by the city attorney. And I believe the supervisors of records and the Ethics Commission has weighed in on this matter. Those letters are in the packet.
Mr. Rowe, can you approach the mic and give us 2 minutes? Thank you.
Page 317 of the city attorney's memo kind of sums it up. But I sent an IDR to their generic email on December 26th. Just because Kay Patterson was on vacation, that means that, once again, something happened. We don't really know what happened there. So the response came on January 3rd. So that's a late response. Then they accept the late response, so that's the violation. As far as the letter that was received,
I think
asked.
you're looking at the wrong file.
Oh, am I looking at the wrong?
You're looking at the next one.
Oh God! Sorry, can you turn back a clock? Okay, I made a specific IDR request on August 31st to their generic email. All documents, police reports, interoffice emails, photographic evidence concerning a statement made by Kay Patterson in a letter dated August 31st, which I supplied. So she didn't identify which documents were in their possession, what they didn't have, and she didn't provide a justification for withholding the documents. There was no pending litigation at that time. There was no investigation. I already knew there were no police reports because I'd been to 850 Bryant Street. The statement that she made, they are already in my possession. I don't know what that means. She didn't state what we have and what we don't have. She just went off on a rant, which was quite long. Is she trying to provide justification for withholding? I didn't understand what that entire rant was. It's just confusing. It's one of those Kay Patterson things. I already know that there were all this information that I asked for didn't exist because the court had asked for it previously and there was no information. They asked for the city attorney's office. So all she had to say was, we don't have the documents you requested, or if we do, we're going to provide them in a redacted form, something or other. Here's the justification for withholding, something like that. So did I get any information out of this? No, it was a letter that was rooted in slander, and that's it.
Thank you.
And of course, they're not here.
Thank you. Do the committee members have any questions for the complainant?
I mean, I'm looking on our page 260, the response by Ms. Patterson, and it basically says, Ms. Patterson points to a response from July of 2015, and goes.
I'm sorry. Which was denied, and again, she didn't say why or what she had.
No, right, but it's the same issue as before. This is, she's not providing any information. If she doesn't have any information, she should say there's no information.
Yeah.
She shouldn't point to something from 2015 in reference to this request.
Yeah.
I would like to suggest that this is a repeated request that also came before the task force. We've had several complaints regarding this issue.
So, what do you?
There are no documents, and she should have said so.
Are you making a suggestion, Victor?
I don't make that type of suggestion, but I believe the issue would be, are they allowed to withhold those records pursuant to the evidence code that they reference?
I mean, the evidence code reference, I just don't see any kind of attorney-client privilege or something like that is here.
I believe certain records were redacted.
I thought what she did was she referred to an earlier response that she gave to Mr.
Yeah.
Rowe.
That was the impression I was under.
I didn't get a response.
On the bottom of page 261, it does state, in keeping with our original finding and that of the city attorney, we have no records responsive to this request. As for the police records, you already have it in your possession, and the restraining order obtained by Commissioner Scalar.
Those are not the documents I asked for.
What were the documents that you asked for?
Right.
The documents requested were
If
all
I may,
documents.
I think the question was,
The question was for, we'll have Victor answer and then we can get to it.
Listed, all documents, police reports, emails, photos regarding statements made by Patterson in a letter dated August 31st,
That's what I thought.
2016.
And they stated that they have sent you all of those besides the police report, which you had in your possession. Is that what
No.
happened?
okay, so that was the document request. If she had taken it piece by piece, instead of going off on a rant, the ethics issued a violation of withholding, justification for withholding. Instead of saying they issued a violation because I wrecked up, she went off on a rant entirely. So she makes this mistake over and over again, which is why
All right, maybe we can take one step back. So you were requesting any documents that have to do with,
All documents, police reports, emails, and photos regarding.
that's what I have as well, yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
Excuse me, through the chair, all documents concerning an email that Ms. Patterson sent to the software, to this Sunshine Task Force.
She sent a long-winded
Right,
letter on
exactly.
August
And part of that
31st.
letter was this sentence you have about having.
It was a 4-page letter, single-spaced. Easily half of it was this type of slander, and that was her response for not giving over documents, which she repeated again in
Right,
this
but-
rant.
But I'm just trying to get this straight. In this IDR, you're asking for, what you're asking for is information that led to this letter she sent, or information based on that case?
She submitted a letter to the task force
Right.
as a response to an IDR. You heard the case at the full task force
Correct.
last time.
Correct.
Okay. I included a copy of the letter.
Right.
Okay.
But this IDR is asking for information from what?
She made a statement in a letter. I would like to see what
Okay.
what these
Okay.
statements
That-
are about,
right. So
and I'd like to see evidence of these statements.
Okay. So this, just so I'm clear, this IDR has nothing to do with the case that was heard at the last.
No.
Okay.
The letter was a response.
Right, a response, correct, okay.
That's it.
And so you would have liked them to have come back and said, we have no information?
Well,
If-
no documents responsive.
the normal way is I don't have police reports.
I do not have interoffice emails.
I don't
I don't
have.
have photographic evidence.
Right.
Right, that's 6721C, failure to identify a public record. These are not public, but that's the closest thing that I get. Then 6727, which is the withholding, 6725E, which is justification of withholding. She made the same mistake she made at the ethics hearing. I can't jump inside this woman's head. I don't know what makes her tick. But if she's going to slander me on a regular basis, I'd like to see some evidence of it. I already have police reports in my possession. How does she know this? What is this about? I would think the way to respond to it is in response to your IDR of la 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 la. We don't have this document. We don't have these. We may have these, but they're redacted, and I can send you them in the redacted form. I would think that that's how that would have gone. She just runs off at the mouth and slanders me, and I just got sick of it. So at the top of page 260, I tell her I made a specific request for documents. She didn't identify which documents she had and which she wasn't going to give over.
Thank you.
She didn't give a reason
That's
for
helpful. Members, I mean, I'm wondering what you're thinking about Ms. Patterson's response, because the justification that she gives is that these are documents that are being withheld because, they're being advised by the city attorney's office to deny the request for the records. If some of the records are pertaining to police reports, photographic evidence, then it could be regarding an open investigation. That's why it's saying that the city attorney's office denied the request for the records.
But I'm reading, what I read is, please find the attached a letter from City Attorney Brad Russo denying a similar request.
Okay.
Not this request. So I'm confused by the response, and is the response, and it seems to me that the response is based on the last case, not on what is being asked for now.
Correct.
May I suggest, it sounds like we need Ms. Patterson present. Maybe we can continue the matter and we can ask her to appear at the next complaint committee meeting.
Require that she appear?
Yes, I will work it out with her so that she can appear along with some of the other complaints.
Do we have any questions or documentation that we want Ms. Patterson Murphy to? I mean, what I would like for her to do is just be prepared to answer any and all questions on this matter. I don't want to have to give her, 3 things, and those are the only three things that she's prepared to respond to. But do we have to be specific as to?
We do not.
Okay.
Right.
Can I make a request? That we're all not left hanging here for 20 minutes while she's scrambling looking for a lost email. I think she has ample time to submit paperwork.
Of course, and for her to be prepared.
We're going to tell her
when
to
she
be
appears.
prepared.
Yeah.
That's all she can do.
So is the motion, would the motion be?
We're going to motion to continue the matter. I'll make a motion to continue the matter to the next meeting of the complaint committee.
With the requirement.
With the requirement.
May I suggest continue the call of the chair with anticipation that it be the next meeting of the complaint committee
The call of the chair, yes.
with the requirement that Ms. Patterson be present at that meeting.
Yes, because at this time, I definitely do not feel like we have all of the information that we need to have this heard by the full task force.
There is no information. It's just Kate Patterson being Kate Patterson.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment on the motion? Seeing none, can we call the roll?
On that motion to continue the call of the chair, Member Kanata?
Aye.
Kanata, aye. Member Hinsey?
Aye.
Hinsey, aye. Chair Tesfa?
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. The motion passes.
For the next item, it's 7:30, and that was when we were set to go.
Can we just hear it fast? I was actually in the hospital. I had to check out early.
I know. I'm actually sick, so that's why I was going to ask either the other members can stay to listen to the matter, or because Ms. Patterson Murphy is required to appear for number 9, make her required to appear for number 10.
I won't be here in March.
And Ms. Patterson Murphy will be present, and you will not be present? Is that what you're saying?
I don't live in California anymore.
No, but for item 9, we're requiring Ms. Patterson Murphy to be present
If you're not here, is there still a quorum so we can hear this case?
If the other members are willing to stay beyond the scheduled time.
I'll try to be quick.
I have to leave.
I would like to leave too, but yeah.
Okay.
Can we at least have a motion to find jurisdiction before continuing?
Okay.
Motion to find jurisdiction.
Second.
The motion is to find jurisdiction. Remember, no members of the public are present at this time. Can we approve the motion to find jurisdiction without objection?
Yes.
Is there an additional motion at this time?
I'm making a motion for adjournment. I am.
To continue this matter to the call of the chair and the adjourned
Yes.
meeting?
Yes, please.
Second.
Second.
I could do it by phone, but I won't be here in March.
Thank you. We'll take that under advisement.
Okay.
There's no public comment. Can we adopt that motion without objection?
Yes, please.
That motion is adopted without objection. There are no announcements regarding item 11. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you.